baby and he may toot. So I'm sorry, I think he's trying. And so if you see, for example, you can look at the molecular structure of, I might put a screenshot in the description as well, of water turning into ice. Interestingly, ice, we've talked about ice before. It actually is in the structure of concentric, or not concentric, repeating stars of David. And so you see the Star of David imagery in molecular structures. You see the Star of David in crystalline structures, which I've talked about. You can look up tourmaline. It looks like a Star of David, which also looks like a Mazzaroth. And so the Star of David it really represents, as you can see with what I'm saying, it represents life. And so life is this life abundant. This is why it's this, symbol of, God and, Star of David and this, beautiful imagery. And then you can kind of apply this understanding to the seals that I was talking about. Let me just turn off my camera. The seals I'm talking about, it would be a 6-pointed star. So it would be the sixth seal. And then that would correlate to the fourth seal in Revelation. And so it's very interesting to me, like I said at the beginning, how the stars in the circle are correlate to the seals in Revelation. That fourth seal is actually the one of death. Okay, so it's the one where I think it's like a quarter or a third of men die, and all these animals die. And so, how funny is it? Well, it's not funny. It's really not funny. But how interesting is it that this, like I said, the seals of Revelation are kind of like the destruction, judgment version of what the seal of the seals that I'm talking about, the stars. It's kind of the destructive version of those. Okay, so you have this good seal, the Star of David, and then you have the destruction of life. So it literally correlates. So that's kind of about McKenna. McKenna's dream is a beautiful confirmation of that, because it's like God is literally showing her through this picture of the brides, like linking together in unity, holding hands. And that's like this imagery of, like I said, these seals are almost seals of protection, right? In the good sense, it's supposed to be protection, it's supposed to be love, goodness, unity from God, all these beautiful things. And then the judgment version is, obviously the complete opposite. So it's like beautiful confirmation. God is
Yeah,
So
protecting us.
beautiful. So beautiful.
that is beautiful. And it's all leading back to the Garden of Eden because, it started in the spirit and into the flesh. So that's kind of also why Kassi and I go up. It has something to do with the spirit and the flesh. And that has to do with like Jacob's ladder and the spiritual realm. And McKenna has explained some things in her video about that. But it's all leading back to that. It has to do with symbolism of sin and how the serpent deceived Eve from the beginning. So everything has to, that was what the whole aligning the planets was about, with everything God called us to do. So it's all going back to that. And he started talking about the ice or something melting. And I think that's kind of where Antarctica, like the spiritual realm becomes physical. You're going to be able to see in the spiritual realm once the veil is completely removed. And right now we're feeling effects in the spiritual realm because the windows are down, meaning it's down. And when the curtain gets pulled back, that is literally when you're going to start to see all the mystery, all the things they've lied to you about your whole life is going to come to fruition. But I know we wanted to go into Vashti. She had something to add.
Yeah, something real quick that we hadn't touched on yet was the To Be Shabbat part of how Mandy keeps saying November 15th could be February 15th, and that Jesus spoke to her that February 15th is the holy day and the completion day. Well, To Be Shabbat, he also spoke to her and said, what did he say, Mandy? To Be Shabbat, I'm coming on To Be Shabbat, or?
He said, To Be Shabbat. Hold on, I'll pull it up really, really quick and I'll read that to you so you can go on that. He said, and the thing is guys, I didn't even know what To Be Shabbat was. So the fact that he spoke that to me is pretty amazing. I don't know a lot of things. So let's see, To Be Shabbat. He said, okay. Something about, okay, here we go. To Be Shabbat delivered my, toward the end. Okay, so so many messages. He also talks about the dial turning back, and that's interesting too. Why I try to find it, because the dial literally, that's tonight, right? Someone was saying that. Okay, so that he like the daylight savings, where it says, okay,
Yeah, it's
so
because of the time change, falling back.
yeah, so okay, so it says showed up just beginning and contraction started on Tu Shabbat. February 15th, my holy date, my completion date, the midnight cry. I called out to my bride, the groom is coming. And then he talks about, do you think man can strategically count and calculate the dimensions on my true calendar, the Mazzaroth? Every word spoken means something, but you won't ask me what it means. May 22nd, the invitation, the rehearsal, the warning. So what he's saying there before Kassi goes into her thing, he's literally talking, God warns you because he's such a loving God, which is what 617 was. Now that we know the months went backwards, it was really 717. It was the day that Noah got on the ark. So that whole thing before Noah got on the ark on 617, which is 717 because of the months backwards, was the wedding invitations going out on 522. He was mirroring 522, which started the ninth hour, but he was also mirroring it on the Gregorian calendar, the day that we said he's coming on 522, because he was literally sending out the invitations. So go ahead into Tu Shabbat, Ashley.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying that just for some encouragement about where we are right now. It's interesting because we've been talking about how he's using all calendars. Like there is his true calendar and there is his true date, but we've been talking about how he's using all calendars and how, you know, like Mandy was saying, right now it's going backwards in that November would be February. So if February 15th was November 15th, well, Tu B'Shavat, if you actually look up when it was on our calendar, it says it started on February 5th. And it's interesting that that happens to be 10 days in between February 5th and February 15th. So I know we've been looking at February 5th, and I'm not saying, you know, that's anything set in stone, but it was just a cool revelation. And me and McKenna last night were looking at more about Tu B'Shavat and the Hebrew numbers were for Tu B'Shavat 9 and 6, and I think it's Tet and Vav. And McKenna was saying how she, either Jess or Kassi, was showing her 96 being Jesus, and 9 and 6 together is 15, which is rest. So that again would confirm
and shalom.
Yes, and that would confirm again the potential closing of the door on the date that we thought. And then just some more encouragement that I feel like maybe this is something that kind of people have already touched on briefly, but I just I know we're talking about all calendars and how they're kind of going together, and he's using, you know, all of them. But I think it's really encouraging that we're in his 8th month, because he's revealed to Kassi that the true Day of Atonement, the 7/10, was actually October 4th. So if you count from there, we are in his eighth month right now. I think today is actually the 11th day. But I think it's really encouraging because 8 is so significant. There's the great 8th day with the Feast of Tabernacles. There's 8 being saved by water and the flood, as Noah was the 8th person. There's the circumcision that was on the 8th day. Yes, McKenna, I'm getting to it. And then I was watching one of Jess's videos a while back, and she talks about how the Hebrew symbol for the number 8 looks just like the blood on the doorpost of the Passover. And I thought that was awesome. And that stuck with me, obviously, because I'm still remembering it so many months later. And then just this morning, I couldn't sleep, and I was just kind of just talking to Jesus a little bit. And I was thinking about my tattoo, and McKenna just showed her tattoo, and we have very similar things, but it's an infinity. And I thought it was cool also because Jess was talking about the hourglass and the Mazzaroth, and how if it's kind of like a turning. So an hourglass is like an 8, and then when you turn it, it's an infinity symbol, but that also symbolizes the end and the beginning and the end, and how it's all coming. There is no true, you know, beginning or end, and it's all infinite. So that was really cool, and that was just some encouragement about 8 and why 8 is so significant. And I also happened to see in Strong's, I looked up on the 8th, or like on the 8th day, because it's such a significant biblical thing, and it happens to be 8066. And I thought that was funny because we're looking at tomorrow potentially, and 6 and 6 is 12, so that's potentially 812. I don't know. I just thought that was cool. And then I
you.